You know, when you're doing a video about Uranus, you gotta be as kooky as possible. Do we like this? I don't think so. Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to my channel, Intentionally Nia, where I teach you how to use astrology intentionally. So today I want to talk about a planet that I feel like is always left out of the synastry conversation, and that is Uranus. I feel like Uranus does play a part in synastry, like a big part. I personally have experienced Uranus synastry before, and it's stuff you don't forget. Like, you don't forget a relationship that has had a lot of Uranus influence, and there's multiple reasons for that. So in this video, we're going to talk about what Saturn is. I'm going to let you know what it's like when you're in that type of relationship, what type of relationship would be categorized as like a Uranian type of relationship, what that feels like, and some as some like characteristics you can expect with that. And I'm also going to go through and let you know if you have Uranus in aspect to the other inner planets, what that'll look and feel like. So here we go. So Uranus is a very, very interesting planet. It stands out from the rest of the other planets. It kind of tilts on its side in real life. But within astrology, we look at Uranus as one, it's an outer planet, and when Uranus is in the mix, we're talking about freedom. There's themes around freedom, around revolution, shock, and it's associated with electricity, so it's that shock to the system. People who have a lot of Uranian influence tend to be people who are shocking, who do things completely different than everyone else in society, who stands out as an individual. And that's really what I like to think of Uranus as, and how I associate it with. It's like really originality and individuality. Uranus as a planet and as an energy really values their uniqueness. They value their individuality and their ability to think for themselves. They're not interested in the status quo like Saturn. Like, it's not about formality with Uranus. It's about, am I free to be myself? Am I free to be as wild, kooky, crazy as I want to be? That's what Uranus is really, really interested in. And that becomes very interesting when we're talking about synastry, because traditionally we tend to want relationships where they're monogamous, where we're being committed to one person. It's you and that person. And we tend to think of relationships as the time where you put your guard down, put your wants, not your guard, but put your wants to the side for the overall greater good for you and that person who formed this relationship. But Uranus comes in to give us lessons about allowing each person in the relationship to showcase their individuality and have moments and space for themselves. And it really challenges you to not get stuck in a rut of trying to please other people, or show up in ways that people expect you to show up just for the sake of having everyone else be happy. Uranus is coming to challenge you to really stand on your square and really understand what it is that you want and need in a relationship, and be willing to have that. And then on the flip side, sometimes we're in relationships where we have to give that to other people. Because I do find that Uranus synastry does indicate karma. They come up in karmic relationships. And when that happens, you can either be the inner planet where someone else's Uranus is interacting with your inner planet. And in that case, basically that person is being put in your life to shock you out of this way of being that you have been, kind of to like surprise you and shock you so much that you're just like, what what the hell just happened? But after all of that happens, you're left with a renewed sense of understanding about whatever planet it's touching, a renewed sense of understanding about what it is that you actually want. Now, if you are Uranus and you're touching someone's inner planet, then you would be a shock to them. You would be the person who comes in and kind of revolutionizes how they look at whatever area or whatever planet, you know, your Uranus is touching. Uranus is associated with love at first sight because it all happens so quickly. Uranus is very quick, impulsive energy, if you will. And it's out of nowhere. It's unexpected. You never see it coming. It's that feeling that you get when you like meet somebody and you're like, I know you. Like, why do I know you? Type of thing. And you're just drawn to them out of nowhere. It's very electric, that connection. But I also find that as quick as it starts, as fast as it goes, is as fast as it can end. It can be a whirlwind type of relationship. But it's there to teach you a lesson. It's there to help you really understand who you are and where your individuality lies. Now, if we're talking about the negative side of Uranus and Uranian connections, then we get into rebellion just for rebellion's sake. Positive side of Uranus comes with, you know, a rebel with a cause, right? You know, you are trying to invoke change in a way that's going to be productive and you know, helpful in the long run for all involved. The other side of that it's not a priority for Uranus to be in partnership. It's not a priority for Uranus to really answer to anyone or have any type of accountability. So on the flip side, if we're talking about like the negative side of Uranus, we're really talking about just being like rebellious just for the fucking hell of it, like just because, you know, we're talking about the person who wants to be kind of a menace or who is antagonistic. And then we're also talking about this underlying fear of being tied down, you know, fear of being controlled and not being able to really be yourself. It can force you to show up in ways where like you are running. So, you know, with these types of relationships, you could come across situations where people kind of ghost you. Within a Uranus relationship, you can experience being ghosted. You can experience being blindsided. You can experience the person just randomly like pulling away out of nowhere and just straight up disappearing, because when Uranus feels like their freedom and their individuality is being imposed upon, they're gonna run. They're always their priority. They're meaning the planet Uranus, but the priority is always to be in a situation where they can be themselves and they will not submit or allow themselves to stay in an area where they feel like that individuality is being threatened. And so the lesson I would say when you are dealing with negative aspects from Uranus to any of your personal charts, I mean, not your personal charts, to any of your personal planets, is to understand that there's a lesson for you to learn about what you actually need and want. And it's a challenge for you to really decide for yourself what you're willing to tolerate, decide for yourself what you are willing to compromise on and what you're not, and how much room you can give someone for individuality. You know, I think that when Uranus is in a negative aspect to a personal planet, it's pushing that personal planet to see where their boundaries are, to see, you know, where that person, like where it all comes to a complete halt for you when it comes to as far as your boundaries. And it can be really, again, it can be shocking, it can be hurtful, And you can feel really blindsided by this type of behavior. But it's important to remember that overall, the bottom line and the karmic lesson that you should take away from this experience is to understand what you want authentically, like who you are authentically. Also understanding when it's just too far. You know what I mean? Because Uranus can take it too far, but it's up to you to know that. It's up to you to understand that, because at the end of the day, like I said, Uranus' focus is freedom and individuality. And if you find yourself in a situation where you're being pushed to your limits, and it's not authentic to you anymore, then you know where to activate that Saturn, where to activate that masculine energy and cut it off. You get what I'm saying? So let's go through Uranus touching the planets in synastry. So when you are in a relationship where someone else's Uranus is touching your sun, they are giving you a shock to the system in regards to your confidence, your sense of self, your talents, and just your ego, like how you show up. And this aspect, on the positive side, when it's in the harmonious aspect, it can be really, really fun. There's an instant attraction here, like instant attraction between Uranus and the sun. And I think that Uranus really enjoys how authentic the sun is. You know, when the sun is just shining as bright as they want to be. And, you know, again, the sun shines whether you're looking or not, right? So Uranus really admires that about the sun. And the sun admires Uranus' ability to just kind of stand out and do whatever the hell Uranus wants to do. I think they really understand each other on that level. They understand that, like, no matter what is happening around me, I'm gonna be who I am, and I'm gonna shine. You know what I mean? Now the difference is the sun is more willing to mold to the influence of the audience than Uranus is. Uranus is just going to be who they are, no matter where they are. Whereas the sun has more, because the sun is popularity, right? And the sun has more of an understanding of and can pick up oh, you guys like this? Well, I can keep doing that. You like this little trick? Let me keep doing that, right? Uranus is kind of okay, if you like it, that's cool. But he's not gonna do it just because you like it. So they can clash in that area. And I think that the sun, given its association with Leo and Uranus's association with Aquarius, we have opposites here, where it's they are doing kind of the same thing but in different ways. And Leo needs that admiration. Leo needs to know that you think they're fly and that you admire what they bring to the table. And Uranus isn't really focused on giving that to the sun. Uranus will do it when it's authentic to them. You know what I mean? So someone's Uranus touching your sun is to teach you how to big yourself up, right? And lean into that part of you that is authentic and learn how to show up as who you are, no matter who's around, no matter the audience. Uranus wants you to learn how to do that, not for the show, but because it's who you are and how you really are feeling. So during this time, during this relationship, you might find that your confidence evolves, and it can go, depending on the aspect, it can go in a way that is positive and it can go in a way that is negative. So, this type of synastry can, you could be with someone who kind of makes you feel a little bit insecure, or they make you feel like they big you up. You know what I mean? It can go either way, but the point of it is to get you to a place where you're the one bigging yourself up. You're the one who is confident about who you are and strengthening that confidence, but it's for you. It's not for everyone else. It's not for anyone else. For your own benefit is what I'm trying to say. Couldn't get it out. But it's literally for your benefit. I also want to say that the sun is associated with father in astrology, and Uranus is not. Uranus is gonna run from authority. You know, Uranus is not into being told what to do or like guided in any way. So you might find that the Uranus person tries to run or in this connection because they feel like you're domineering, or they feel like you're trying to be their parent and tell them what to do and like give them guidance, and they feel like I got this. And if you're Uranus, you might feel that way about the person who's the sun. You might feel like the sun person thinks they're your parent and thinks that they can tell you what to do, and you're really not into that. And so again, it's just an understanding of like, this interaction with Uranus is just to help you understand where your boundaries lie, how much freedom you can give someone to be themselves before it starts to impose on who you are. So when Mercury and Uranus are in a synastry aspect, this is a meeting of the minds. This is friends joining together. You know, Mercury and Uranus, they enjoy each other. I think that Mercury is the communicator. Mercury is the person with the gift of gab. Uranus is that person who has all these forward ideas, these innovative ideas, and may not know how to communicate them. So I think that Mercury can help Uranus in that way. Mercury can communicate what Uranus isn't able to. Or is like too far out there to even try, like too into whatever it is that they're interested in to even try and communicate it. And I think that Uranus can help Mercury think a lot deeper or more forward. This aspect can go wrong is through debate and through Uranus kind of challenging Mercury in how Mercury thinks, because Mercury is a young planet. It represents Gemini, right? It represents Gemini. Gemini is 3. Okay. And then it also represents Virgo, and Virgo is very fixated on the details. And Mercury deals with ideas and things that are very within reach, like, you know, super tangible and like in reach. Whereas Uranus is out in the clouds. It's in space. Uranus is in space. And so there can be a little bit of butting heads when it comes down to Uranus trying to stretch Mercury's mind, and Mercury might be a little bit offended because all Mercury's life, they've been told that they were smart, you know what I mean? Or that they had great ideas. And then you meet this person, you're with Uranian influence, and they are nothing like what people consider smart. They're very ahead of, that. And almost, you know, genius. Like, it's genius energy here. It's innovative. It's different. And that challenge, depending on how it's aspected, could really be hard for Mercury. It could have Mercury feel a little inadequate. And I think that what Mercury can help Uranus with is help Uranus kind of, like I was saying, like speak of those things. You know, Uranus can get into their own bubble and just be very focused on their own thoughts, focused on their own ideas, and not know how to communicate them, you know, not know how to connect with people and connect with the environment around them in regards to all these great ideas that they have. And Mercury can help them do that. And so with this connection, it's not the most romantic connection, but I do think that the lesson here is for Mercury to be open to expanding, be open to thinking outside the box. But at the same time, being confident in what they do know, being confident in their own abilities, and not feeling challenged or not feeling called out, if you will, by this super forward energy that Uranus can bring to the table. When we have Uranus in aspect to Venus, then in its synastry aspect, this is where love at first sight comes into play. This is a very interesting aspect. Venus represents your love nature, right? And Venus as a planet is interested in connection, like connecting with people. They want relationships, they want love, they want romance, they want to have all of their sensual pleasures met. Sorry, just like they want to have all their sensual pleasures met. They want to be able to develop, relationships and partnership with someone. That's important to Venus. They care about attraction. They care about how they look. They care about how things like feel and the sensuality of things. All things that Uranus doesn't give a hell about, right? Like I said this earlier, Uranus is not prioritizing partnership. Uranus is open to partnership. Don't get me wrong. They're open to relationships, but it has to be in a way that allows for them to have their own individual self and, have the freedom that they really need and desire. And so when we're in a harmonious relationship with these two, I tend to find that these relationships need other grounding aspects in the synastry in order to last, because otherwise it will be this will be a fling. This will be it'll be a fling. It could be a hot and heavy affair that like burns out as quickly as it starts, because Venus is also like kind of fickle, and Venus goes where they're desired. Venus goes where they're getting the attention and getting the things that they want, and Uranus is not going to be tied down or forced to give in any type of relationship capacity. So I think that these two will have so much attraction to each other. I think that Uranus can show Venus like a lot of really interesting, fun things. They probably go to museums together. They probably go to different art shows, and he can show Venus a different side of things. And I think that Venus helps Uranus learn how to be more refined, learn how to see the beauty in things, and not be so shocking all the time. But when Venus gets to the place where she's like, okay, so like, what are we doing? I think that that's where we risk Uranus kind of running and not wanting to really move things further than what they already are. And so in a harmonious relationship or harmonious aspect, I think that this can be something that, like I said, it ends as quickly as it starts, but everybody is okay with that. Like both parties are fine with that. And if it's not harmonious, then there'll be some hurt. And more than likely the hurt will be on the side of Venus. It's a very interesting but fun. It's super fun. I feel like this aspect can be fun. It can kind of not end well. And so the lesson here, particularly for Venus, is again, like the prior, know your boundaries when it comes to love. Understand what it is that you really need. Like, do you desire monogamy? And if you do not compromise on that, because when you're dealing with Uranus, if you're trying to make something work that doesn't work, Uranus is going to run. And so the lesson is don't push. So don't push. So it gets to that point where somebody has to kind of like run. At that point, you want to understand what you're dealing with and not just be in something just for the sake of partnership just for partnership sake. You want to have meaningful partnerships and be in a partnership with someone who is in balance with you. So Uranus aspecting Mars in Synastry. So this placement is very hot and very heavy, and it's either going to be really good or really not good. Like it's no in between, because we're dealing with two impulsive and fast planets, but Mars is like more physically fast and Uranus is more mentally fast. So again, there's going to be a lot of I will say there's sexual attraction here. I think that Mars can help Uranus really bring their ideas to life. Mars will be the actual feet on the ground when it comes to Uranus's vision. And I think that Uranus helps Mars with some new ideas that they can conquer and push forward and be the leader in. I think that Uranus will really inspire Mars and allow Mars to think bigger, thinking small, you gotta think big, bitch. Like that's this energy. That's what Uranus is saying to Mars. However, when they're working in harmony, like in a harmonious aspect, and they're working in harmony, this will bring a lot of important change, a lot of revolution. It's very impactful of a aspect. When it's inharmonious, then we deal with, it can feel dangerous. Like this feels dangerous. This feels dangerous because Mars is violent and, Mars is danger, and Uranus just straight up bounces. But Uranus is shock, right? Uranus is what you did not expect to happen, like out of nowhere. Very shocking things. Inharmonious aspect to Mars, it's kind of antagonizing this energy, and it will throw a wrench in Mars's determination and Mars's ability to push forward, and that can be really disheveling to Mars. I think the lesson here between these two planets is for Mars to learn how to kind of, like I was saying before, think outside of the box. Take your time a little bit with your ideas. Take your time a little bit with your drive, and be impactful, right? Because Uranus does all of these shocking things, but there's a point, they're trying to make a point. So it's a lesson to Mars to focus their energy in a way that is going to be impactful and not just for the hell of it, you know what I mean? Or just for the thrill of it. It's more so yeah, it might shock you, me pushing forward with this, but there's a reason. And I think that Uranus is teaching Mars that. And it can, if it's inharmonious, it can be, like I said, very jarring for Mars, because Mars wants to move. Mars wants to move forward. And if Uranus is throwing obstacles and doing things for shock value, it doesn't allow Mars to move as forcefully and quickly as they want, and that can feel really annoying to Mars. But if you are dealing with this, I think the lesson is just to learn how to have a little bit of a plan prior to taking action, um, and yeah, have more intention. Now you have an idea of how to deal with Uranus, Uranus type synastry, if you were to ever experience them. I think Uranus is really important to talk about when it comes to synastry because it is so shocking. And after everything is done, it can leave you feeling like, what the hell just happened? And that's not always a good feeling. At least if you have the knowledge of astrology and you understand what the planet Uranus means, if you see that in your synastry with someone, you can understand that, okay, this connection, if nothing else, is here to help me, one, be more authentic, lean more into what is important to me and what will free me as a person, and also to kind of not get stuck in a rut. There's something that I'm doing in this particular area of my life that I need to change up. I need to switch it up. I need to learn a new lesson that I can incorporate. And it'll help you not take it as personal, because Uranus aspects and the way Uranus moves, it can feel personal. It's like sabotage in some ways. So I hope this was helpful. Remember to like, share, subscribe. If you are interested in more astrology content, follow me. I would love to have you. I have more videos dealing with my Saturn return, which I just finished. Just finished my Saturn return, so I have some videos on that. In particular, I just posted one about Saturn and spirituality. I will link that right up here, and I hope to see you again. Bye-bye.